As the first rays of light sweep across the high plains and cast their crimson glow on these magnificent towering peaks, you will know why the early Spanish explorers called these mountains the Sangre de Cristo. This is the dawn of a new day in a land that captivates the imagination. Some say that if you listen closely, you will hear the whispers of ancient voices. The Native Americans called this place Wahatoya, the breasts of the earth. Yes, the Spanish Peaks region is set apart from the rest, and so is the colorful present and the storied past that surrounds it. This is a place where history is inscribed upon the earth, and where the earth is inscribed upon its history. The diversity of the landscape here is symbolic of the cultural crossroads that it has become. This is where men and women have toiled in the pursuit of a better life, and where a better life has been discovered by those who pursued their dreams. We invite you to come, be inspired by the other Colorado. Come and explore the scenic highway of legends. Those traveling from the north on Interstate 25 can't help but notice that they have arrived in Spanish Peaks country when they reach the historic city of Walsenburg. The Huerfano County seat sits along the banks of the Cucharas River, and it is a point of beginning on a route that completely circles the east and west peaks. Taking an exit here also means making an entrance into one of Colorado's most scenic and storied regions.
In the 1950s, there were no state parks in Colorado, and it was just becoming an idea around different parts of the United States. So a guy named Lathrop was called here by the governor to try to develop a state park system. Lathrop State Park was photographed first by a guy named William Henry Jackson in the 1880s. That's the first known images of the area.
Mother Jones, who was an Irish woman, a labor leader, she was called the most dangerous woman in America. And when they called her that, she was about 80 years old. But she was so effective in energizing the coal miners. We ended up with 31 nationalities speaking 27 languages. As the tensions built over the coal strike in April 1914, south of here at Ludlow, perhaps 1,200 people were living in tents. When the shooting started one day in April, 11 children and 2 women went into the biggest pit, but the tents caught on fire, and those 11 children and 2 women were suffocated, and that's known as the Ludlow Massacre.
The Ute Indians had the Apishapa River Valley to themselves before the arrival of the first Spanish settlers in the early 1860s. Then with the arrival of the railroad, the small trading post known as San Antonio Plaza flourished, and it became the town of Aguilar. Today, this historic community is known as the gateway to the Spanish Peaks. In its heyday, Aguilar boasted of 4 hotels, dozens of stores, a bank, and as many as 14 saloons. April through October, you can head west out of town past the flanks of both Spanish Peaks before climbing the 11,000-foot pass that was dedicated to a man named J.J. Cordova. Back in 1928, Cordova cast in motion a plan and a dream to build a road from Aguilar up to the base of the West Spanish Peak. Back on I-25 and heading south, the flat-topped mountain known as Fisher's Peak will mark your bearings, just as it did for those who crossed the plains by horse and wagon on the Santa Fe Trail. Trinidad is the most heavily used gateway in Colorado's southern border. Here you will find a confluence of Western history and contemporary culture that make this one of the state's most interesting cities.
The city of Trinidad has some unique architecture and it was impacted by a lot of different eras. It was the railroad industry, the Rapp brothers who did a lot of the architectural design of the building. In October of 2012, the courthouse will be 100 years old. It has the same marble that the state capitol has, and almost as much.
The Highway of Legends follows the Purgatory River and State Highway 12 to the west, revealing a valley that is abundant with scenery, recreation, and geological wonders. It is now, and historically has been, an important region for agriculture and natural resources. Along with the development of those industries came a cultural influence that can still be observed along this section of the Highway of Legends.
You'll see a lot of small little communities, several churches along the way, predominantly Catholic churches. So you'll see the penitentes, places of worship, which are called moradas. The penitentes are Catholics. They were somewhat of a secret brotherhood.
As you approach the Culebra mountain range, the air becomes noticeably cooler. The river runs faster, and each turn in the highway foreshadows the spectacular scenery that lies ahead. From there, the highway winds its way north through the Sangre de Cristos to 10,000 feet. Many who travel this highway feel that they have discovered one of Colorado's best-kept secrets.
Highway Legends is really something for a black and white photographer. I've been here 6 days. This is my 3rd day on the Highway Legends. I only spent 3 days at the Great Sand Dunes. The light to me is really strong here, and it's really rich. You know, good photographers don't just want to take a pretty picture. They want to take a picture where something is happening.
Please be very cautious as you drive along Highway 12. There is wildlife that feed along the edges or cross. They bring their calves or their cub bears across. Watch along the highway for mule deer. There'll be a lot of elk along that road, and also you have an opportunity to see a black bear.
The Cordova Pass cutoff awaits those who are beckoned to the call of the spectacular Spanish Peaks wilderness. From here, you can enjoy an afternoon picnic at Farley's Overlook, venture up to the lofty summit of the West Peak, or wind your way back to I-25 at Aguilar.
The Scenic Highway of Legends provides so many recreation opportunities. Obviously for wildlife viewing and hiking, backpacking, wildlife photography, nature photography. Some of the species of plants that you'll see in this area unequaled anywhere else for color and just plain brilliance.
A dazzling display of colors drapes the aspen forests of the upper Cuchara River Valley each fall. Not to worry though if you find yourself here at any other time of the year, for you are in the midst of one of Colorado's most scenic corridors. The village of Cuchara abounds with authenticity and charm. For many, it reminds them of the way Colorado used to be, back when life was less complicated. If the rustic boardwalks and the cedar siding don't capture your heart, the people you meet here certainly will. The landscape that borders the lower section of Highway 12 is exceptional in beauty and remarkable in substance. And geologists from all over the world are fascinated with the features that are found here.
The North American continent stretch, that allowed this magma to have less area to have to push up through, and that caused all of these dome-shaped rocks and all of these walls. These rock walls are called the radial dikes. The term radial just means coming out like spokes in a wheel, radiating out from the mountain. Gimmers Butte is the only feature in the area that actually was a volcano in its youth.
La Veta is refreshingly different from just about anywhere else in Colorado. With a population of only 900, this is a small town with ideas that are as large as the peaks that tower over it.
La Veta has its own flavor as far as the arts go. We do touch on the Southwest because this is where we are, this is where we live, that's where the history is, but we also branch out and vary incredibly in what we focus on. And one of the things that I love about the arts in La Veta is that when you come here, you will find such diversity. You will never go into one gallery and then go across the street and see exactly the same thing.
We're standing in Francisco Plaza. It was built in 1862 by a man named John Francisco. It was a trading post, and it served as protection for pioneers who lived in the area. A guy named William Jackson Palmer, who was the founder of Colorado Springs, was also the founder of the Denver and Rio Grande Railroad. So in 1876, the narrow gauge railroad did arrive here. The railroad that comes into town today is the Rio Grande Scenic Railways. There are many, many legends. There are legends about the gold that was found by the Aztec and taken back down to Mexico. And there are stories, legends of buried gold cached away that no one has ever found, but the legends are still there. So there is just a host of wonderful legends. It is a historic town with incredible stone buildings that were built 100 years ago and still stand. It's a replica of old America, old pioneer America that a lot of people want to see.
As the sun slips beyond the western horizon, you will know why the Native Americans held this land close to their hearts. And as the moon rises over the eastern plains, you will understand how they and all who have followed have marked the map of the Spanish Peaks region with a history and a tradition that can only be found along the scenic highway of legends.